There is no nice way to say this, but the sprint format in F1 is not good. It's not ideal for racing. It's a complete disgrace when you consider the motives that it's being put for. And no, listen, today was the day that F1 was supposed to show the world that, oh, the sprint format works, the sprint is good. The sprint makes sense in the grand scheme of things. We're having six sprints this season. So they needed today to be good. They needed today to be like a statement, a monumental race that showed the world that, okay, this sprint format is a compelling alternative. It should be part of the race weekend, and qualifying should be on a Friday, sprint should be on a Saturday, and the race should be on a Sunday. But all it did was remind people that it does nothing. It shouldn't even be there. Like, off my head, yeah, like Yuki Tsunoda and the whole Alpha Tauri thing that happened today showed and summed it up in a nutshell why the sprint doesn't work. 17 laps of racing, and you have around a third of it taken out by a safety car, which granted was Alpha Tauri's fault. I get that. You can't blame that on the FIA or the F1 committee, but it's showing you that it doesn't work. It doesn't work because the F1, the whole point of racing in general is that you have to be prepared for the unknown. When something like that happens, it affects the race and it affects the schedule of the race and it affects how the race is run. It's just not acceptable that the only good sprint we've had in the last couple of seasons that I, as far as I can remember, is the Brazil one of last year. It's honestly a not a good sign for the sport in the sense that F1 is doing sprints and it's doing all these things to sort of make more money and keep more viewers because it's promising more racing, right? Let me land on something that I felt about the sprint since its inception. The sprint, in my opinion, has two benefits, only two. And number one is, of course, the obvious cash grab. The FIA is making a lot of money. It's never been more lucrative. F1 has never ever been more lucrative, and it's earning them a lot of money. It's putting a lot of people in their seats to watch the sport, and that's a good thing when you consider the financials and the commercial aspect of things. But and the second thing that I feel the sprint is good enough for is the free practice sessions, one or two of them being binned in favor of a race that allows teams to get more data. Perfect. A very, very lovely solution that should have been incorporated better. Because when you deep it, those are the only two benefits that I can see from a sprint. Because the rest of it is just shrouded in very lazy and complacent booking of the sport. Because think about it, in cricket, for example, we have T20 cricket because someone found Test and ODI cricket too boring and the whole world conquered, right? No one's found an F1 race boring over a grand scheme of how many ever laps it is. It's certainly not a slog to sit through, right? Like, even the worst races, you know that it's over and done within an hour and a half. There's no way you can tell me that it's as long lasting or as like a cricket game that it required a 3 hour version, which by the way is still double of an actual F1 race. How you can tell me that there is the necessity for a sprint where it's like a certain section of the laps? That's not ideal. It's not something that should be done, and it's not something that should be encouraged. What I won't accept is that it's going to become a norm where a sprint is now part of the race weekend, because the whole appeal of a race weekend, to me at least, is when there's one qualifying and there is one race. I don't want two races, and just because, okay, it's more races and there's more chaos and the scope for a lot of crashes, a lot of overtakes. I hear that fully, but it's not something that the sport or fans ever asked for. And if you don't believe me, you can actually go on Twitter and Reddit today and you can read comments from many, many F1 fans and even casual fans who the sport is apparently aiming the sprint format towards, that even they don't like it that much. They don't see the point of it. And it's completely fair. The sprint, on a racing perspective, has got zero strategy because you start on the same tire and you finish the race on the same tire, barring, of course, any unforeseen calamities. There's no strategy involved. It's just pure on pace, flat out to the floor overtaking, which doesn't even happen. We saw one overtake today that actually mattered, where Perez overtook Charles Leclerc, and that was it. There's not a case of like, oh, Verstappen would have overtaken him or this, that, and the other. Listen, a race allows much of that because there's a wider number of laps for said overtakings to happen. But in a sprint, it's a case of you're pushing every lap. You are not looking after your tires as much as you should. Realistically, I understand that anything I say or a lot of other sprint skeptics say will not happen because there are people, quite unironically, who like the sprint, and fair play to them. I can respect that. I've said all this right now. Will I still watch every sprint weekend? Yes, because I love F1 in general, but it's getting to the point where I can't see why the sprint happens. I can't see as what purpose it serves other than the ones I probably listed out. And realistically, did I ask for another race in a weekend? Absolutely not, and neither did a large section of the fan base. So today's sprint just showed that it was one of the worst sprints I've ever seen. Maybe it had something to do with Baku, but realistically, that is the whole thing. There is a very few number of laps, and if something happens, a large section of the race is taken away by the safety car or by any other, by a not red flag, by a safety car or whatever it is. So it's not ideal for racing. It's a lot of racing, and it takes a toll on the drivers, the fans, and everyone involved. The mechanics, lest we forget, the team principals, and the all of the people who combine to make F1 the spectacle it is, and all of them having been subjected to more and more race. I'm pretty sure the next season they'll hail sprint as a success and sort of make more sprint weekends. And the last thing they're going to do, I think, in my opinion, is make a Monaco sprint, and that'll be it. That is when you will get another version of this video where I will be raging. So yeah, that was my thoughts on the sprint. I really didn't enjoy the race today. I felt it was one-dimensional, lackluster. Not a lot happened. Perhaps that was Baku's fault, but we move and we were excited for the Sunday's race and the rest of the season. So thank you for watching. I will see you soon. Hopefully as fast as everyone has raced in the sprint today.